Hello, everyone. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to remind you that my book, Drummers on Drumming, is available now on Amazon as both a paperback and an ebook. Based on the Big Fat Five segment of this podcast, where I sit down with my favorite drummers to discuss the 5 records and stories that shaped their approach to the instrument, this book is packed with insights from the drummers who redefined how we think about the modern drum set. You can grab your copy now by checking the link in this episode's show notes or simply searching Drummers on Drumming on Amazon. So thank you for all the support, and now let's get into the show. Hello. Welcome back to Big Fat Five. My name is Ben Hilsinger, and this week's guest is Jonny Scott. Jonny is a badass session player for both the studio and the stage, who's played with 2 of my favorite artists, the Kills and CHVRCHES. He's one of the go-to drummers when a band is looking to start adding a live drummer element after years without. You can trust him to do the job and bring the song to life in the most musical way possible. I look up to Jonny in a lot of ways, and it was an honor to chat with him. So please enjoy learning about what made Jonny Jonny. Cheers. So the first time I saw you live was, I believe, in 2017. You were playing the Cal Jam Festival with the Kills.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've always been a huge fan of Jamie and Allison's songwriting, but can you explain how you do your setup live for them?
Yeah, sure. So with them, obviously they started just with a drum machine and the 2 of them. And that kind of morphed into this drum corps thing that we did, which was like 4 of us standing up with floor toms and a snare, just like doing all these choreographed moves, like kind of part of the set. Almost, it looked really cool and it really worked sonically. It added this kind of weight. Then they went away and did their Ash and Ice record, and they had a bunch of like live drums on it. And they asked me to do it live. So the way I worked it out was, pretty simple. Just all their drum machine tracks on Ableton, like really simple Ableton track, just stereo drum tracks, and I literally just played over the top of them. There really wasn't much else to it. Like it sounds ridiculous, but that's how we did it, because we couldn't really break out any of the stems. I think they'd lost the stems for a lot of the records. So we only had these stereo tracks, so it was the only option. Those sounds are so integral to the sound of the band. I couldn't just replace them with live kit. So it was a matter of me making sure I was super tight with the samples and no triggering, no nothing, just straight up, play over the top, easy. There was a couple of tracks. I can't remember which ones now. My memory's so bad, but there was one I had to recreate. So I just found a bunch of Maestro samples and reprogrammed it and then played over the top of it. But yeah, I use a lot of triggers with CHVRCHES. Everything's triggered. We do have tracks, but I keep any sort of stereo information with a lot of movement. Hi-hat parts, modulating parts will stay in, and then I'm triggering all the kicks, snares, toms, whatever, extra little claps and things. I'm trying to do everything myself as much as possible.
Do you still use those Simmons pads?
Yeah, I do.
How's your left hand feeling?
It's actually feeling okay. I got a new tech on this tour, and she got those sound off pads you get for practicing.
Yes. Yeah.
She really neatly cut them into little hexagons and stuck them on, spray glued them on, and they feel really nice to play now, and they trigger okay, and
So if you were to feel it, it's ribbed a little bit.
Yeah, so it's it's got little padding on it, because before the Simmons pads are what? It's just a bit of plywood with a tiny little thin layer of vinyl on them.
They look cool for sure, but yeah, they're not made for feel.
Oh, horrible! Yeah. They don't. My wrists were absolutely hammered after the last campaign. It was so bad. We're 2 shows deep now, and it's feeling okay. So we'll see.
Yeah. It's like playing on a tabletop or something.
Exactly.
So this one is more of a question for me, because a lot of the bands I do play with, I am the drummer. They never play without me, but I'm not in the band. Is that a role that you appreciate and kind of like that you don't have to do the interviews, that you're basically, I mean, when I think of churches, Jonny, you're there, but I mean, how do you navigate that, I guess?
I definitely appreciate not having to do all the press stuff, because
Yeah.
I'm a super nervous, anxious, socially anxious person. So it really suits me. Like I love playing the music and like being on the records, and just, they're probably doing like 5 interviews right now. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I generally get to just, I mean, I'm in Austin, I'll go and like, I don't know, see some bats or something, or whatever you do here.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, I love that. It's everything feels a lot more relaxed and easy, I think. Yeah, so it works at festivals as well. Like I always
Yeah.
with the Kills as well, I always found that like they were always like, oh my God, they're like constantly getting driven around everywhere and having to do all these things. And I'm just like chilling on the bus or whatever. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Before we get into your top 5, I did, because you are kind of, I mean, you're so good at being that drummer to bring into a band that we have a record, it sounds rad, it has a style, we want you to come in and dissect what to do on the drums. And you did kind of talk about it a little bit with the Kills and how you would just play on top of it, and with Churches it's different, you do more triggering. But what is your process on when you listen to a song and think of what I'm going to take out, what I'm going to leave in, what I'm going to make sound different live, just, because sometimes you want it to be a different thing. How do you do that?
Yeah, so I mean that's the hard part, I think, of that's the hard part of the job, really, is trying to map it out in my head, really. So with the last Churches record, I knew it really well before we started putting the live show together, because I played on almost all of it.
Right.
So, and to be honest, there's not a lot. The tracks that I played on, there aren't a lot of other things on there. It's pretty much, there might be like some hi-hat loops and like a clap sample or something. So it was super easy for me to translate that, because it was almost exactly the way it was on the record. I guess the challenge was like for the earlier records, especially the second album, which has no live drums at all. I played on the first record, so there's a few songs where there's a blend. Second record, it's nothing. So it's, I was trying to work out a way to blend it. So what I ended up doing was breaking out all the stems onto my Simmons pads. I kind of trying to just learning all the electronic parts exactly like verbatim, and like working out how to play them, which is tricky, those guys are amazing at programming drum parts, but because they're not drummers, it's really not intuitive to play.
Yep.
and I love that challenge of like, oh fuck, that's like really, really difficult. It doesn't sound hard, but like, there'll be like hi-hats where they wouldn't normally be, and like just weird shit going on. And so yeah, I would work it out verbatim, maybe just on a kit, break it out onto like an SPD, and then put it onto my Simmons pads, and then try and sort of, I don't know, transfer that to choruses like on the live kit, but still trigger and everything. That was my thought process for like how this is going to blend with the more live sounding stuff, because Love Is Dead, the third record, had a lot of live drums on it. I didn't play on that one, but there's a lot of live kit underneath everything. So similar thing. It was just like going through all the stems and being like, can I physically play that? And if I couldn't physically play that, that stays on the track. Just break out the snare samples, the kick samples, any claps. It's like, what's humanly possible is how I do it.
Yeah, at the beginning, I would always, when I'd get to the point where it's like, so I can't play this on the kit yet, I would then spend a week being like, I have to be able to play it. And nowadays I'm like, you know what, just let that be in the track. I'll just do a more basic version, because people want to see you grooving, as opposed to like, oh, he did it exactly like the record, and yeah, I was always too hard on myself to try too hard, if that makes sense.
No, it makes loads of sense. And that's really interesting, because I feel like I'm less concerned with things being exact now. And it's just,
Yeah.
It's a live show. Let things be what they'll be. If I'm starting to change up parts a little bit, nothing like crazy, but I'm not so obsessed with like, it has to be exact, because nobody cares.
Well, I'm with you. And not to discredit him, but my good friend Andrew Marshall, who plays with Billie Eilish and Phineas, cool. His Ableton setup is, I mean, he's playing it to a T. Anything you hear triggered, it's like if he stops playing drums, there's no rhythm track live.
Oh, that's
and he
amazing.
has it. It's all automated set up to where all of his pads will change 5 or 6 times within a song. And I'm like, to him, it's like gardening. You know, he enjoys programming that. That's probably why he does it. But to me, I'm like, that's I'd rather go for a walk and then just play on top of that stuff. But it works for him.
Yeah, that's quite stressful if you're trigger and everything. I did that in an old band of mine where I was like, this has to be like, I have to do everything. Like I'll start the tracks from a pad and stop them. Similar thing, starting sequences, and it just like really stressed me out. So I didn't want to go down that road with Churches. I was like, put some stuff on the track and just like step back.
Well, it's also just it's supposed to be fun, and when there's less on my shoulders, I can actually have a better show. So, in my old age of 34, I'm like, Ben, you just got to play drums. All right, so let's get into your top 5. And I know you were apologizing last night about you have a few overlapping things, but that's what you chose, and I love it. So, I guess I should ask you: is it in a particular order of what you want to talk about?
No, not at all. I just kind of randomly pieced it together. So
cool. All right. So, and I'm going to preface this like I always do. I'm assuming a lot of these questions that if I were to ask you next week, they'd be different. I know mine are week to week. So, your favorite drummer this week, or maybe for all time, who knows, and how their overall body of work has affected you.
So, yeah, I've thought about this a lot because there's so many drummers that it could be, but it's Boris Williams from The Cure, because they are a band that I constantly go back to time and time and time again. I listen to them almost every day, and he's played on all my favorite Cure records. And he's just like, I think it's soaked into me. It's like part of my very being now. His parts. Yeah, I think he's like a really underrated drummer. I don't really hear people talking about him much. And I think his parts are perfect. His drum sounds awesome. Obviously, the Cure songs are great. Robert Smith's songs are great. But he's just such an inventive player, and I don't know. I just love his parts, and I love their music. So it has to be Boris, I think, when I think about it. I don't know.
Have you ever gotten a chance to meet him through all of your travels?
I have never met him. Actually, I don't really know what he's up to now because he left the band quite a long time ago. The last record he played on was Wish. So, I mean, I've seen The Cure a bunch of times, and their new drummer's amazing. Well, he's been in the band for a long time, but he's great. But I think purely because Boris has played on all those classic records, he's the one, there's some really odd parts. I've kind of like, I don't want to say ripped him off recently, but like I'm paying homage to him at the end of one of our songs, How Not to Drown, which is a track we did with Robert Smith.
Oh wow!
So we kind of, as you do. So there's this really long outro and there's no drums on it on the recording, but I've started kind of ripping off Boris's parts from a song called "If Only Tonight I Could Sleep" off the Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me record.
That was me last night with my booster.
Yeah, that's me with my jet lag. I'm just like trying to sleep at weird times. But yeah, so I'm sort of paying homage to Boris a little bit. And yeah, I just think he's a fantastic player, but I don't know what he's doing now. I've never met him.
So let me actually play a little bit of that song. You said If Only Tonight I Could Sleep?
Is it Only Tonight We Could Sleep? I'm probably getting it wrong.
Did you have a certain part of that song you wanted me to play, or just kind of the first 30 seconds?
It's like whenever the drums kick in. It's the same part. It's like a loop over and over, but it's just a really cool like little displacement. And
okay. So you just kind of vamp on that at the end?
Yeah. I'm not playing exactly that, but it's that idea, that little kind of displaced snare pattern, that little gap, doom, doom. It's all, I'm building it around that, basically.
That's sick. I've never heard that song.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
All right, so moving on, and it's kind of in the same line of what we're talking about, but record that hit you at the right time in your life and represents a big piece of your artist. And you said
Disintegration by The Cure.
disintegration.
Yeah, welcome to my Cure podcast.
That podcast would probably do well.
Maybe if I got the song titles correct. Yeah, Disintegration. Yeah, that came along at a really important time in my life. I got into it maybe later than I should. I think I was around 20, 21 maybe. I'd been studying at music school, and I was kind of obsessed with like really kind of muso stuff and like choppy playing and like, I was studying, I was learning chops basically. And I got asked to join a band on keyboards, and it was actually a band with Martin from CHVRCHES. He was the singer in the band, and he was also on that music course, and he was like, "Hey man, like our keyboard player's not around. Do you want to like play keys in my band?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't really play keys, but like, okay, cool, why not? Let's do it." And he kind of, and the rest of the members of that band got me into Disintegration by The Cure and all that kind of world, kind of 80s kind of gothy stuff. I guess that was the kind of wheelhouse that they were in. And it took me away from all that like super muso, like choppy stuff, and like really got me into the kind of music that I've been listening to ever since. Like it changed my whole outlook on what music was, I think. Yeah, I love that record. I come back to it time and time again. I could listen to it 100 times and never get bored of it. It just sounds so beautiful. It connects with me on like a really deep level that I can't explain. It's just like every time I hear the opening of Plain Song, I'm like, this is just perfect. It's got the dark stuff and it's got like pop moments, and it's awesome.
Did you, when you were working with Robert Smith, did you tell him that?
So I never actually met Robert. So no, I did not tell him that. But I've heard some interviews with the band that they've done with Robert, and they've been pretty upfront with how much they love him and how much the band changed their life. And I would put myself in the same category there. I still can't believe I played on a track that has Robert Smith on it. It's kind of blowing my mind every day.
Yeah, I love, this is a tangent kind of, but I love that he is just stuck with that look. It's like calming. That's still Robert.
It's amazing. I love that. Like, absolutely just committed. Like, this is what I look like forever.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what happened with that band that you played keys in with Martin?
We just kind of dissolved, as you do. Like, we started, I don't know, getting a little bit of label interest, and things got a little bit like tense, and I don't know. I don't know if we all kind of fell out. We all kind of grew apart. I don't know. I started playing in other bands. I got back into playing drums because I actually stopped for a long time. When I left university, I was just playing keys in that band and not really doing much else, just kind of going out and being stupid. I started playing drums again. Then I started picking up session work, and here I am, and playing with Martin again in a band, which is cool.
What turned you off about drums toward in that time of your life?
I don't think anything like specifically turned me off. Like I was only really being in that band at that point where I was playing synths. So, and I didn't have like a practice space. I was kind of crashing on friends' couches a lot at that point. Like I didn't really have like my own spot or anything, so I couldn't really play. But that it was just circumstance, really. Like I didn't really wasn't like I don't want to play drums anymore. I was just like, I can't play drums anymore. I don't have any. I don't have anywhere to play them, and I don't have any money.
Well, there you go. Yeah. All right. So number 3, and it's a specific groove that completely changed the way you think about drums. And I love this groove so much.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, Digital Bath by the Deftones.
Yeah, that groove. It's funny, that probably had more of an impact on my playing than I actually realize. You know, looking back on some of my things, if someone's playing something and I'm like vamping or just doing something during sound check, it's like I'll play beats like that just to keep me. Yeah.
Yeah, same, absolutely. It's I think that's why I chose that track. I play it a lot still. Like I'll play that as sound check or like variations on it without realizing.
Yeah.
You know, I love the way he plays it as well. I mean, the actual part is perfect, but all those little ghost notes and like just little extra things that just make it so groovy. I guess it's and the drum sound as well. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the sound. I actually remember, I think I got into 30 Seconds to Mars before Deftones, because I got into Deftones later in my life. And then when I think I heard Deftones the first time, I was like, man, these guys are ripping off 30 Seconds to Mars. And
oh my God.
Little did I know. You know?
Wow. Yeah.
There's that one drum beat, I'm not going to just go through all the songs, but it's like da do da do do ga do do ga, where he starts off like on a disco beat. I think it's on that same record.
It's on the same record. That is, I can't remember what it's called. I think it's track 4 on White Pony.
Is it RX Queen?
No.
Okay, I'm just going through ones that I was.
that one's really heavy. It's pretty early on in the record. It's maybe track 3.
All right, let's go.
It depends what version of the album though, because they redid the album with like that kind of new metal tune they put as the first song, Back to School.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't really know it as that record. I think it always started with Fettuccine or whatever it's called for me. So, oh fuck! See the track that you were like, is it RX Queen? And I was like, no, it's not that one. It is that one.
You were aggressively said no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why not to call out what's his name, Shannon Leto, but he blatantly rips off that song in from Yesterday, the song from 30 Seconds. It's literally that.
I don't really know much. I don't know much of their stuff, but I mean, it's a good groove if you're going to rip something off.
yeah,
it's a good one. Yeah, I love that you know, the moving from like the upbeats to the downbeats and the hi-hats, just like genius. I love it.
I know. It's like when stuff like that happens, it's like that's such a simple thing to do. I hope one day in my life I make a beat that's like that makes someone go, why didn't I think of that? That'd be, you know, to make people air drum in their car and then a drummer to go, okay, those are my two goals.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So I'm really excited about this one. Actually, no, let's skip that one because I want to hear about that one. But your favorite fill, choice, or moment from a certain record?
Yeah, so back to the Deftones, the record before White Pony, the very first 2 notes in My Own Summer.
For anyone that missed it, I love too that he does that and then the guitar's going crazy, but he keeps this closed hi-hat. He doesn't, I mean, that song could have been a lot heavier at the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I love about Abe's playing. He's quite restrained, although, you know, he's such a monster of a player, but he's such a groover, you know, over, I think most other drummers would do the opposite of what he's doing.
Is that like an 8-inch tom? It's like...
Yeah, it must be. I mean, like, I definitely don't like, my drums never sound like that, but I love the sound of his drums, you know.
Do you play pretty big sizes, right? I mean, is it a 24-inch kick?
At the moment, yeah. At the moment, it's a 24. With the Kills, I was, 24, 13, 16, 18, which really worked with them. And like with CHVRCHES, I changed my setup to like a 22, 13, 15, 16 or something stupid like that. I don't know why. I was just like, how can I mix this up? I'll get a 15-inch floor tom. Why not?
That's amazing until you're on the road and your head breaks and you like you can't go to the store.
Yeah, we discovered that mid-tour. It's like, where do you get a 15-inch head? So we're not using that anymore. Yeah, I've got like a clear Vista light at the moment, which is a 24 kick, 30. No, it's a 12-inch rack and a 16-inch floor tom. But that's the kind of loaner kit at the moment. They've built me another clear Vista light, and I've got an extra rack tom coming. So I'm going to do like 12 and 14 racks and a 16-inch floor. But it's currently like stuck on a freight trailer somewhere. So I don't know if I'm ever going to see it on this tour. It's going to like chase me around the country.
It's in Long Beach right now. Just off, it's like 70 huge boats just waiting out there.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you still have your pink sparkle?
I do, yes. It's currently very sadly sitting in the storage facility in LA, but I'm going to have it shipped to my place in Scotland, I think.
I almost bought that one from NAMM like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. God, yeah, 4 years ago at this point. But when they reintroduced the pink acrylic, that really bright one that basically looked like there was lights in it. It was so, translucent. But yeah, dude, I love pink.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think I wanted one of those pink Vista lights. I still do. Like, I've got a total addiction when it comes to Vista lights. I've got 4 of them now, maybe 4. I've got like a red 70s one. I've got my Tequila Sunrise, and I've got one they built for Questlove, which I managed to get like the spare parts for it or whatever, and they built me. It's like the same pattern as a Tequila Sunrise, and it's blue, pink, and blue, like bands.
Oh wow, yeah.
That's really cool. And then I've got my clear one now as well. I love how they look, but I love how they sound as well. I use them on recordings all the time. Cool.
No, I've never not been complimented. It's a very easy way to. Yeah, it's all about looking good, dude. What are we doing here?
Exactly.
All right, so I was excited to hear about this one. So a performance which you either played or witnessed. In this case, you witnessed this that altered your musical course.
Yeah, so it was the Kenny G live at the Glasgow Concert Hall, I believe, in the very early 90s. I was maybe 11 years old, maybe younger. And my parents took me to see him because I started playing saxophone.
Did you play everything? What the hell?
I don't play it anymore. I mean, if you give me a saxophone right now, I wouldn't know what to do with it. But yeah, I did play saxophone very briefly, it turns out. So they took me to see Kenny G. They're like, yeah, this will be like inspiring for him and like, see someone that's really good at their instrument. And all that happened was I really obsessively watched his drummer. He had this huge dude on the drums and he was just amazing. I don't know his name. I'm not sure who he was. I've tried to find out, but I'm not sure who he had playing. But the guy was incredible. And I just found Kenny G to be incredibly boring and like, I wasn't interested in it at all. So like I found him to be so like, I don't know. I just found that so dull that I was like, I'm going to play the drums. I don't want to do that. Like that is not for me. So like he literally stopped me playing the saxophone and play the drums and stuff.
Did you get a drum set like very shortly after, or is it just like this is gonna be my mistress for a while that I'm not gonna tell my parents about?
My parents were really cool actually. Like they got me a kit very shortly after. I did play drums a little bit before that when I was really young, maybe like 8. My dad got me this like rubber practice kit and like I learned a few grooves and stuff. But I was really young, so I wasn't like serious about it. Mm-hmm. But I could hold down a couple of grooves or whatever. And I went to high school and they're like, you do this listening test in Scotland anyway. You do this listening test, and if you get above a certain mark, they're like, congratulations, you can play a woodwind instrument or a brass instrument. And I was like, what? But I can play those drums already. And they're like, no, here. And I actually wanted to play the trombone, but I'm quite a short person, but I was very, very, very small at that point. I was like 11. And I wanted to play the trombone, and I couldn't actually reach the end of the thing because my arms were so short.
Yeah.
So I defaulted to saxophone and then defaulted back to drums because I was like, I don't like this.
Well, Jonny, yeah, dude. All right, well, I literally have to go. I have all my stuff is like so scattered about right here. I look like I'm like in some prison video right now because I just moved into this new spot. Plus, I'm leaving, so it's like this. Yeah. Anyways, I will talk to you later then.
Yeah. Safe travels, man.
Thanks, man. You too. Peace.
See you later.
And that's the show. Be sure to subscribe, and if you're listening on a platform that allows for ratings or reviews, do that. It helps more people find the show, which means the show will get better and bigger, and hopefully I'll have a chance to sell out one day. But you'd be an OG listener that could brag to all your friends. Anyways, also, why don't you go ahead and check out bigfatsnaredrum.com and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all the socials. Just search for @bigfatsnaredrum and you will find it. This show is edited in part using iZotope RX8 audio editor. It's amazing, so go check that out at iZotope.com. Bye.